I'll go next. I'm Kirsten Griffiths, and I have recently taken over running Floyd Jams from Deb Wildman, who's been there a while. We are not in session at the moment. I'm trying to have a good attitude about it and say it's because we're just too big. Because our umbrella group, the Junebug, does have their programs back in session that are 9 kids or less. So in person, I mean, but we can't do that. Our like I said, umbrella organization, the Junebug Center, has gone to 6-week sessions with 2-week breaks to see, to make adaptations for whatever's next with COVID or rule changes. And that's working well for them. So if we can find a way into that eventually, we will. We've, also have the issue of the public school buses not bringing kids to after school programming, so we can work that out. So we'll see. We've been super lucky that Handmade Music School, associated with the Floyd Country Store, is kind of loosely affiliated. I mean, they're not affiliated with us, but they help a lot and give scholarships to jam kids to private lessons there. So we've been able to filter some really committed kids into that program. So they're getting one-on-one lessons, but it's not officially jam anymore. But it keeps some of the really motivated students going. And I did want to add that the Handmade Music School through the Country Store has gotten some pretty great fundraising done for scholarships that are up to like full scholarships, and they're just a 1-page application and really no questions asked, just fill it out. Pretty much gets kids in like 4 to 6 sessions free, and then it can be renewed, and they don't have to be here in Floyd, so any of y'all's jam kids really could apply. The store actually really needs those scholarships used so they can keep applying for the funding that provides it. So just FYI, Handmade Music School would love jam kids from all over the place to apply for, but it's virtual for virtual lessons. So yeah.
Thank you for the reminder on that. We had sent out information several months ago, and I didn't know if we had any success or not, but we'll push that again.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, somebody's using it, but it'd be great if more people did.
Thank you. I'll send out some info to everybody on that one.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else want to share? I know we have some more folks from Avery County and Donna from Bristol. I think Bristol might be the only jam program in Virginia that's doing anything. You're muted.
Hi, I'm Jen. We're in I'm working with Carol Rifkin in Henderson County, and we just started this past September. So whenever, and we did go, basically we were outside in an outdoor brewery, basically allowed us to use the outside and open air area. So
thank you. Anybody else before I want to get started with the topic?
Well, I'll just mention we couldn't meet this Monday and Tuesday because the teachers are getting vaccinated. So we missed class this week, but we're looking forward to having class next week. Monday for the elementary students, a large group. I do guitar, and Brian is doing ukulele. And then Tuesday we go to the middle school and I do guitar and Brian is doing fiddle.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
yes.
I'm Jennifer Moore. I am from Watauga County, but I'm on the Avery board with Bobby and her crew.
Good to see you. Thank you. Okay, so how many of you here are not familiar with the Jam Songbook? Nobody? Everybody knows sort of what it is? Just remember, if you want to talk, you're going to have to unmute yourself. I'm scrolling back and forth, but it's hard to keep up with. Or the chat is available as well. So I wasn't sure where the participants would be as far as their knowledge of this. It's been out for a couple of years, but just a little bit of background. Don't know if you all are familiar with Pete Wernick, but he has been involved in teaching people how to play primarily bluegrass music for many, many years. And he contacted me several years ago and he said, you know what, I think both of us are working at the same angle. So he organizes all of these camps and different event type workshops that are aimed toward mostly adults. And a lot of them are retired folks or people who have always wanted to play and now they have their chance. So they are beginners. So he organizes these workshops and basically teaches closet pickers or beginners how to play music with each other. And his biggest advantage, I guess, is inspiring motivation in people and making them realize that they can do it and that they can be successful. And even if they're not really at that high level yet. So he told me, I think we're working at the same angle. You're working with kids who may not be that familiar with the music, and all they need is that little bit of motivation or push to help them feel successful and make them learn more. So he collaborated. One of our longtime jam students, I guess, someone who got involved with traditional music through the jam program in Boone, North Carolina, named Liam Purcell, very quickly, mastered the art of old time and bluegrass music on many different instruments, and was teaching as a teenager, and was also the youngest teacher to be associated or have credentials as a Wernick method teacher. So Liam and Pete and myself and a few other people worked together to develop this book. So it is for usage for jam kids as well as, it's going to be backwards, as well as the general public. And we've had a lot of success. I have shipped these books to places around the world, Czechoslovakia, France, Australia, are some of the countries that come to mind. But we have also sent them to most of your jam programs. But I want to be sure today that if you all are interested in using this, whether it's in person or a virtual version, just please let me know. I can send you books at no cost. They come 80 to a box and they are piled up in my office, and I would like to get rid of some. So you let me know if you want them. I'll put them in the mail. If you want to approach it from a virtual aspect, I can give you the link to where we have it online, where folks could use it, print it at home, as long as they're affiliated with JAM. There's going to be no charge. Of course, we do charge the general public $10 a book, but it has been a nice small fundraiser for us and a really neat kind of collaboration. So the book features 39 different songs. We tried to pick the ones that were kind of most common across the region. And I can share my screen right quick. Let's see here. Okay, can you all see that? No?
Yes.
There it is.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. So in addition to the 39 songs, there are pages at the beginning that explain the Nashville number system, which this book is heavily reliant on. So if you're not familiar with that, I can remember as a much younger musician starting out, it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why don't you just tell me what the chords are in this song? But now that I understand the premise of it, you're working with the 1, 4, and 5. And once students understand that, then they can learn to transpose to any different key. So I'm sure you all know this as musicians, but this is what the book is based on. You'll see how he has the numbers that correspond with the words. So of course, this is simply just a songbook with the chord changes in it. And I'm kind of curious, as I have learned during COVID times, that folks are using this for virtual learning. Would it be helpful if there was accompanying tablature for the instruments for this specific songbook? We're always requesting feedback. And currently we are working on the first volume, which I hope to be many. I just picked 12 songs that are common across both old time and bluegrass music, and to have the matching accompanying tablature for all those songs. And we do realize, and we want folks to teach the styles that are most local to their community. But on the other end, we do get requests for, teachers not having to create their own material, especially starting out. So we thought that is something that we would make available to folks who wanted to use it. And of course, it's not going to be compulsory or anything like that. So do you all have any thoughts as far as the effectiveness of the songbook for teaching to all the instruments, or in your experience, has it just been used as a songbook to get kids singing and learning chord changes and learning by ear?
I'll say something. Is anyone else trying to talk?
I don't think so.
Okay. My experience is the guitars used it most in our program. But we didn't use it a ton in teaching. A bunch of the teachers already had tab, like Mac Trainum, and people had written over the years, but most of them don't use any of that. But I have noticed, a couple of my kids are jam kids, and my neighbors are jam kids. So we've sort of had an informal mini jam, and these kids that are getting together informally have been using the songbook, which I think is super cute. And they like to make a little stand and be official. And I think the tab would be great. Probably here, lots of other places, the teachers kind of get into funny discussions about what the tab should look like. But I think, I have noticed the teachers asking for something standard so that they know they're teaching their instrument the same thing that another teacher is teaching. So I think that's where it would be super useful, is partly for the teachers doing that. And actually our banjos have used it quite a bit too, actually, the intermediate banjo kids.
Okay. Thank you. That's very helpful.
I second that. I've only had one lesson in this whole session. My son's been in the hospital for 4 months off and on. Yeah. And then we've had terrible weather, and then we've had COVID. So I've had one COVID shot and going to get another one at the end of the month. And I'm going to try to start up again. After that, I just had one student and one lesson. But I agree with how useful, I think, tablature. I've never used tablature before, but I love the book. I think it's going to be something I'm going to be thrilled to have from the classes with however many students I have. But it seems like we have a lot of teachers who are considering being jam teachers in our Avery County program who really don't have the background in old time music, and tablature would be a way for them to learn the tunes besides listening, so that like Kristen said, it would be it's a way to make sure we all have the same melodies. And I love the book. I think it's fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, of course, our kids haven't had the chance to use it. They're still at the beginner stage. But the senior jam group that we had that kind of developed the jam kids, they have been using the book. A lot of them were vaguely familiar with a lot of songs, but didn't know all the words or whatever. So it has been used as a songbook, and we have talked with the kids that we have these books available that they'll be learning songs that they can go to Virginia or North Carolina or, wherever other jam groups are, and they're going to know the same songs, and which just the kids are, for some reason, they just think that's amazing. So,
That's great.
so, we do have plans to use the book.
Awesome, thank you. And that's a good point too, that we had thought about with this book and future collections of Tab or whatever, that in the hopeful event that we can return to regional gatherings of kids from different places, then they would all be able to play, mostly the same versions of tunes. And I know that, especially us old time musicians, and I argue with the person who is doing a lot of this tablature about, different versions of things because he's mostly a bluegrasser. But we have managed to get to a common ground on most of it. So I hope that everyone else can use it if they wish to, if they don't already have their own stuff. So this is
I think it would help with the tunes.
Yeah.
Because we found in Avery already that all of us know different versions of certain songs. So I think that in that way, it really would help. We'd all be on the same tune. We'd all be following the same music. That would help.
right.
Or at least it would help me. I mean, I know I sing I do the chords and I sing it the way I know it. Well, Bobby may know it a different way. So we kind of have to compromise.
Yeah, that's very common too. And even in this book, a few of the songs I've looked at and thought, well, that's not the words. That's not how that goes. But all you can do is have a good laugh about it and say, well, Pete lives in Colorado. So regardless, it's a good resource, and I hope that it makes sense to everyone who is using it as far as the Nashville number system and the way that the numbers are laid out and the way the emphasis is indicated by underlining parts of words. And of course, there's also some information in the very back of it as related to chord charts and things like that is a little advanced maybe for some kids. So I don't know how much that stuff is being used, but it is there. There's like a one-page approach to how to lead a song or how to practice is at the very beginning of the book. So that might be helpful for some kids, especially as far as just developing their ear skills and learning where chord changes go and how songs go. And, the age-old true belief that if you know the words to a song, then you can hum it in your head and you're going to be more successful whenever you start to play the melody on your instrument. So that's sort of the basis behind this, is trying to make folks successful with just a small collection of traditional tunes that span both old time and bluegrass. So I'm glad to hear the positive feedback as far as future projects. And I think by the time we get through, right now the idea is to have a top 40 tune book. So maybe 4 volumes of that, and maybe not all of the same songs, but a lot of them will accompany this songbook as well, as far as the tab. So.
Can I say something? We used, for the first 2 or 3 years of the jam program in Avery, we were using the Toneway method. And one thing we noticed was from book to book, the words were going to be different or the verses in different orders. It's okay. We can all live with that. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I chime in again too? We've been trying to increase exposure in our program to singing and dance in our program, especially for kids. Some of the kids are just not going to get the stringed instruments. We've noticed, like, we have some learning issues and stuff, and it's been, some of those kids though will dance. And then just Ash Watkins in particular, one of our young teachers, has been really successful in motivating the kids to sing. And so we noticed with the songbook, if we had one teacher do a dance demonstration as part of our enrichment one day, we went through one of the songs and she changed, her step where the chord would change in the songbook. That was really cool because even the kids who couldn't quite get the timing would hear, she's doing this, and then at the 1 4 5 at 4 she would do whatever, and they would all hear that too. And that was a really cool exercise. I don't know who thought of it, not me. But
Beautiful.
the kids really like hearing, like having a physical cue for the chord change when they still couldn't quite coordinate the words with the number.
That's awesome to have that in addition to what you're looking at on paper.
Yeah.
That's a really neat idea. I haven't heard that before. Thank you for sharing that. We will have to tell the rest of the world. And of course, I agree that it's great to get kids singing, dancing, moving around whenever they may not be successful yet or with an instrument. So that's a good
So
point.
are you going to have mando, banjo, and guitar tab all three? Is what you're thinking? Okay.
Mandolin, bluegrass banjo, clawhammer banjo, guitar, fiddle, bass.
Do a fiddle
Wow.
tab?
And for the most part, the same person is doing all of it, except for the clawhammer banjo. So I feel confident that it will all match up. That was sort of an issue trying to think about getting different people to do different instruments. We realized it was just going to be a big mess. Y'all look for that soon. We hope to have the first
Big project.
big COVID project. Just a way to figure out how to restructure some funding that we were supposed to use for in-person stuff. Might as well seize the day and create a bunch of curriculum that can be used forever, hopefully. And I also I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to show you an accompanying resource from Pete. Perhaps if I can get to it. Okay. And I will share this link, but there is a playlist on YouTube by the Wernick Method Jam class, and you can go and subscribe to that. And while it's not him giving the specific versions of the songs that are in the songbook, he has, one has been deleted, but he has.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, sweetie.
Yeah, just put that in here.
All right. How about that?
Great. Okay. Thank you.
I missed something there.
He has a lot of the songs that are in the songbook on this playlist, just where he's found them on YouTube. So it might be a good thing to send along to kids who are learning virtually.
Bobby, are you getting this? Bobby?
I'll send this out too.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm writing it down. I'm checking it out.
Me too.
because
I
I'd
forgot
love to
to
know that
read it.
list. Yeah.
And of course, there's a lot of other songs on here. And a lot of this is more bluegrass based, but
Well, and also, Brett, on that Toneway site, almost every one of the quote core songs, it'll give you like the first 4 to 8 measures of a song, so you can get the tune in your head and the beat and that kind of thing. So that was also pretty helpful.
awesome. There's another. Okay. And here on the Pete Wernick website, there are some paid stuff that folks have to pay a small fee for. But as far as the free stuff, there's some different little teaching resources, which we have a lot of within the Jam Tips book, but feel free to. This is more of an interactive version where the kids can go and check out the different chord positions. A little bit more advanced here. So some folks really benefit from things like this. I just wanted to let you all know that it is available, although I realize there's tons of this stuff online. So, got to figure out what I'm doing here. I don't know, since you all are kind of familiar with this book, I feel like my overview is kind of short. It would be longer for someone who had never seen it before, but I don't know if anyone has any specific questions or thoughts that they would like to share regarding this or anything else.
I just wanted to tell you my feedback on your question that, I used the book last year and the year before, ever since we went to Mars Hill and had the seminar on how to use it. So, and it was great. The only thing I changed was where it has only the numbers on the first verse. My kids needed me to, I printed the page and then I added the numbers on all the other verses because it was hard for them to follow. And then I would sometimes make one, whatever key the other teacher, Brian, wanted us to do it in, I would write that key and let them look at both of them. So, I liked using it as a teaching tool and explaining to them the meaning behind it. It was a really important lesson. And then saying, well, here's what it looks like with the chords on it. But we only use that very briefly, just as a visual. And then they had to go back to the number method because I wanted them to learn that. And I got permission that day to print some things for the students and, just a couple pages at a time that we were doing. We don't get very far in doing a lot of songs. So maybe we did 2 or 3 songs and that's how we did it. And I do guitar. So I wanted to ask you a question. How will this work for Brian in terms of the fiddle? Like, cause I'm not quite understanding what you're saying about doing a tablature book. Would that help him with the fiddle and the mandolin students? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, as far as that goes, like we're gonna have the first 10 songs and it'll have the tab for mandolin and fiddle that he can use the whole book for or print out however you all want to do it, and it have like the basic notation of how to play it, and they should match each other so that the kids can play together. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Will you also have just normal staff notation as well?
No,
Just tab?
just tab at this point.
Yeah. With the fiddle, teaching the fiddle, I found it's just as easy to just teach them how to read. With a fiddle, you just mostly one note at a time. It's just easier to teach them how to read music as much as it is to learn tab.
You're probably right about that. As someone who doesn't read notation, I can't comment fully.
Well, believe me, I don't. This has been a recent thing in the last 6, 8, 10 years that I've learned to read. I never did do fiddle tab, and there's almost everybody has their own unique version of fiddle tab. There's kind of a general guitar tab and banjo tab, but fiddle, you have to learn a new system almost with every author that writes it out.
Yeah, you're right.